advanced, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Two-car NPC. Appears to be no entrapment. Secretary 2 will be on investigating. 302 will have to be there.
RNBC, here's all up down the vehicle.
Yeah, I actually did. I read these, they were emailed out, so yeah, I'm familiar with them. Sorry. I appreciate the email on too, to make things a lot easier. Nelson found me.
The next one. We did talk about having another meeting, so we
Good. I brought down the information for everybody.
especially for another minute before so. Nelson, you don't have any questions on this?
Be typing.
Do you have any questions on this?
No.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a microphone system? Because, you know, it is hard to hear you guys, unless you speak up.
We're currently working on that, so.
I can take my hearing aids out and you'll hear me. Just ask my wife.
What's the difference?
Should I get hearing aids too?
Well, just so you know, if you could speak up a little bit, it would help us back here to hear what you're saying.
I will make every attempt to do so, man.
Actually, we're referring to me.
Oh, referring to you, I'm sorry.
Take one of issues. All right, I'll hear it. Sure you agree.
Sure you agree. Thank you, Jim.
Here, I got some. Which one do you guys like?
Now, how many of these, are not three of them signed in? It's just, we need at least two, one for the trustee's office and one for the secretary. Hmm? Clerk, administrative assistant. Just keep that one.
Okay.
Okay, that's been adopted. Okay, we've got state of township address for the trustee. Yes. Okay.
432 service.
Speak loud. Okay, I'll do that.
132.
If not, I'll hear about it, so, okay. All right. We wanted to have this meeting in order to fill folks in on what has transpired in the last administration, some issues we found, but also to give some insight into what we have planned for the future and how we're going to move forward as a township and some of the initiatives that we have planned and some of the other things that we have planned. So first, and one of the burning issues seems to be the Haynes roofing fiasco. And I can tell you that I have emailed Mr. Haynes several times this last week. We had an appointment to meet, and he was not able to make that appointment because he had business out of town. Was not able to meet this week, and so we have an appointment for next week. I emphasized to him what our stance was. I emphasized to him that any decision going forward, because of the amount of money and because of the scope of the project, would go to the board. And the board would select the next contractor to fill that contract, to finish Station 32, or to do Station 32. We've also hired a independent inspector to go down and inspect Station 31 to make sure everything was either properly done or not properly done, whatever the case may be. We stated several times in board meetings before that it was our desire to have those inspections done for those reasons, regardless of who did the work. And so we have moved forward with that, and on Friday afternoon, that inspection will take place, and then we'll get a written report and we'll know what we have. Some of the things that we have found lacking, and I'm not going to get too deep into Haynes, quite frankly, because we're still in the beginning stages, for one, of figuring out what's going on and what's transpired. We do have emails and other information, but we don't want to get too specific tonight because it would be too premature to do that. One of the other issues that we have found is a lack of internal policies. We found that some of the policies are outdated, some of the policies are non-existent, and so we have created a list of policies that we will have going forward. One of those is an electronic communication policy. Everybody has computers and electronic devices these days. Most corporations will have an electronic communication policy. We need to guard, we do take out insurance for cybersecurity, but we also need to make sure that in-house we're doing our best to make sure we're securing our computers, that we're not sending out information that doesn't need to be going out, that we're doing our due diligence to guard. Also, we want to make sure that people are not going to inappropriate websites and things of that nature on company, and I'll say the word company several times through the night, and I'll say business through the night because that's what we are. We're a business. We need to operate as a business. And so we're taking those steps. We're forming a electronic communication policy now. Also, we're looking at a key policy. Who holds keys, who doesn't have keys, who gets in what buildings. We have several buildings, and they need to be secured at times. And we need to know who's going in and out of those. Credit card policy. We do currently have a credit card policy, but these policies that we're creating and reviewing, we're going to bring them to the board so the board can make any suggestions on those policies, and we can work together to have policies that work for our township. Contracting policy, we'll have one of those. Nepotism policy. Internal control policy, that one will be gone through very thoroughly. Conflict of interest policy. Loss prevention. There's something that we've not had in the past either, is loss prevention. Loss prevention meaning we're keeping track of what we got, and we're making sure it's not walking off somewhere. Every business I've ever been associated has always had a loss prevention policy or a loss prevention officer even, because we want to take care of the taxpayers' money. Mileage records. Mileage records are now being kept. Take-home vehicle policy, we'll review that as well. And timesheets, and timesheets are being taken care of by salaried employees at this point, and they will continue to be. That was those were two of the issues that. And I'll play them. So those are a couple of things that came up in our review about a year ago, things that we needed to take care of for the state. And so we're going to take care of those things. Along with that, one of our plans is to take all those policies and put them in a binder so when we have a new hire orientation, the individuals who go through new hire orientation will have to sign off that they have read and they agree with those policies. And then those sheets that they sign off on will be put into their personnel files so that we can refer back to them if anytime we need to. So, again, running it like a business, if you will. Vehicle maintenance, been a sore subject. Our vehicle maintenance program in the past has not been a maintenance program, but a breakage program. If it breaks, then we fix it. The only thing that we've really maintained on a regular basis has been the chief's vehicles, the SUVs. And so I'm working with the Deputy Chief McClure now, and we're putting together a actual preventive maintenance program where our apparatus will be maintained. We had an ambulance that went out, and the oil had been being changed on a regular basis, but unfortunately the brakes had not been inspected, and we had brakes that needed to be replaced. They started grinding. And so we had to take the ambulance out of service for a day or two in order to repair the brakes. That's not acceptable. We need to be looking at the brakes and doing preventive maintenance ahead of time. And that will save us wear and tear on our vehicles. For example, if you take an F550 and you have to replace the rotors when you didn't have to, you're going to spend about $400 more than what you should have spent on that brake repair. And just those small cost savings start to add up. You take a air conditioner, for example, and I'll get into this a little bit later, maintenance on our equipment in our mechanical room, our furnaces, our air conditioning units, changing filters on a regular basis. Even those, if you don't change them on a regular basis, you will overwork the equipment, and you'll also have higher utility bills because your equipment is overworking. And I'll give you an example. If you do not change the filters in your furnace, your AC condenser will actually start to get plugged up. And if you're familiar with a radiator at all, you have cooling fins, and if the cooling fins start to get plugged up, then you drop in your efficiency. When you drop in your efficiency, your system works harder, and you're trying to get more out of your system that you can't get because your system hasn't been well maintained. And so it's the same thing with our vehicles. We have to well maintain them, and so we're working on that program. Along with that, we have in the past had maybe 10, 12 vendors that we were taking our vehicles to. We're streamlining that so we will have a limited number of vendors. So we will know where our apparatus is at all times. In the past, it's been kind of a throw the dart, where's our vehicle at? And where's engine 31? Well, let's throw the dart and find out where it's at. Let's take a guess. Is it over here or is it over here? Well, we're not going to do that anymore. It's going to be, we know where it's at. It's going to be, these are the guys who are working on our vehicles, and nobody else. Our SUVs, we're going to pull them out of the dealerships for their service, and we're going to be taking them to Green's Automotive, who is a local resident, lives in Madison Township, does a great job, seems to be a fine man. So, because we found in the deal, I worked in dealerships for years, and I know how dealers operate. And unfortunately, in the past, we were buying all the snake oil. We were buying all the things that we really didn't need. Now, do we need maintenance? Yes, but there's some things that you don't need. And so we believe with Greens, we can get away from that, but we can also get a better value for our money with Greens. And then we know where our ambulances and our SUVs are all going. Is it going to Community Ford? Is it going to Greg Hubler? Is it going to, where is it going? Again, streamlining the process. And streamlining those processes also helps out our clerk. She's not going to have to look around all the time. Okay, which vendor was it? Where did you guys take it? And it also streamlines all your bookwork. Let's talk about the cemeteries for a minute. We are responsible for some cemeteries. I got a call last summer, even though I wasn't the trustee, I got a call last summer from a resident who was out at the Centenary Cemetery over on Centenary Road behind what used to be the United Methodist Church. And he couldn't find a plot. And the reason was because the cemetery was overgrown so badly. I went out and took pictures of the cemetery. I was absolutely flabbergasted at the condition that cemetery was in. And I called the trustee, sent him an email. He sent me an email back, said he was taking care of it, which that's fine. But before it could get taken care of, the resident and his son actually went out and mowed the grass and trimmed the trees. We pay for a service. We shouldn't have to have our residents mowing and taking care of our cemeteries. Most of the cemeteries that we have, if not all, are in disarray. Tombstones are toppled over, they're not level, there's overgrowth, trees are needing to be trimmed and so forth. So one of the initiatives that we're going to have for our community is we're going to take one a year. We're going to start with the Centenary Cemetery, and we're going to restore our cemeteries. We're going to get them back up to speed. It just so happens the township owns a Mahindra tractor with a front end loader and a bush hog. And we're going to go out, and we'll need some volunteers, but we're going to go out and straighten these cemeteries out. Along with that, I have two veterans who are going to go out and plot these cemeteries and find the veterans' graves, so come Memorial Day, we can decorate those graves appropriately. We owe it to our veterans to do that. These cemeteries have laid waste. I've recently found some estimates from 2006 where they had contacted a company to come in and restore our cemeteries. I can tell you since 2006, nothing has happened. There was some interest, obviously, because they took the time to get the estimates, but nobody has done anything in the meantime other than to get the things mowed. And that's a shame because that's our responsibility. So that's one of our initiatives, to get these cemeteries up to speed and to take care of these veteran graves. Another initiative we always have a 4th of July celebration. This year and in the coming years, we would like to take that 4th of July celebration and turn it into a community event, basically an all-day community event. Now when I say all day, I'm talking about maybe 11 o'clock till fireworks. Still having fireworks, but in conjunction with that, having a car show. There's plenty of room out here. We can use all these fields out here with their permission. We can have a car show, which I will guarantee you. I had a car show up in Fishers. First year, we had over 100 participants. You can get the car clubs to come. On that, you'll charge participants an entrance fee, and you will charge residents a small fee to view the automobiles and so forth. Along with that, we're hoping to have a cornhole tournament. What you do is you charge these guys $25 or whatever a couple, you sock some money away, and then you have prizes at the end, and you're still making money. Along with that, in the past we've had concessions. And if you've ever done concessions, it's a pain in the neck. What we're planning on this year and following years, if it works out well, is to bring in a bunch of food trucks. The food trucks do everything. All we have to do is take a percentage from them, and we're done. We just have to find a parking spot for them. Also gives us a wider variety of stuff that we can offer the residents. Also, like I said, it alleviates us from having to do a lot of the work, quite frankly. And with people here all day, you now have the ability to serve them lunch, dinner, or whatever. You know, and we're talking recently. Good Shepherd Baptist Church over here did have a food truck day at their place. So we know the food trucks are available. We know that we can get a list of who would be willing to do it. And we can find out from them what percentage they were willing to pay to be part of that event. So that's another thing that we're considering doing. We have also got in contact with a choral group already, a singing group that will do a patriotic presentation at some point in the day. Also looking to talk to the high school band departments and seeing if they have a glee club or a band that might be interested in participating in presenting a patriotic presentation at some point during the day. So what we want is a bunch of activities. I've also got, we have a bounce house. The church I'm affiliated with, we have a bounce house that is actually a fire truck, which would be a great novelty to have, and also dunk tanks and things of that nature. We're also inviting vendors to come in and put their tents up. We've already got one vendor that's already expressed interest. So in the car show area, we would have vendors, maybe Big O and Napa and whoever wants to be, as long as they're not affiliated with a political party, we'll let them in, basically. Even the Community Taxpayer Association, because they're not affiliated with a particular party. So that's the types of things we want to do. Like I said, we want to make it an all-day event, and we want it to be family-friendly. We don't want to bring in some band that's going to, you want to kill yourself after they're done singing or anything like that. We want it to be a family-friendly. We want the community to buy into what we're doing. We want the community to be involved. And it's just more than just them buying in. We want them to be involved. We want them to participate. And along with that, the 4th of July, again, we're going to need volunteers from the public. So you can pass that word around. Another initiative that we have is in 2025 will be our 70-year anniversary for our fire department. We believe, and we haven't verified this yet, but we believe we have located, I'm sorry?
No.
Okay. We believe we've located the first new fire truck that Madison Township owned.
Is it over there off of?
No, it's in Connorsville. If we cannot get that truck, and if it is not there, somebody has offered to give us one, title and key. We would have to restore it. And it just so happens I already have an individual who is interested in donating towards restoration of a fire truck, and he doesn't even live in this township. We've also got some volunteers that already raised their hand and said, we'll help restore that truck. And what we'd like to do is come 4th of July, 2025, that 70-year anniversary, we would like to unveil that truck. And we would like to have the former fire chiefs, firefighters, and anyways, we might even pitch a tent for them. I'm sorry. You have a lunch, and then present that truck and have them actually sign that truck. And then we would use that truck in parades and so forth. We want to have 3 events a year, at least, a minimum. We'd like to have one a quarter. And we want to have one that is a fundraiser basically for a fire department and EMS. We'd like to have one that's the 4th of July, obviously. And then we would like to have a fundraiser for an organization or a family within our community, within Madison Township. I think it behooves us to take care of our own. And by doing that, by having a fundraiser, whether it be a chili supper with a silent auction, whatever it may be, we'll have to brainstorm and come up with some ideas, but we can do it. There's plenty of ideas out there. It doesn't have to be all about the fire department. It doesn't have to be all about the EMS. It can be about the residents. It can be about the people who are paying the bills. It can be giving back to the community. So those are things that we have in mind. The other thing that we have talked, I've already talked to Rich Myers about this earlier. We're looking to have the sheriff departments actually stationed at Station 32 here, giving them an office or renting them an office and having an actual sheriff presence in this area. And I think that will help community-wise as well, because people have a fear, obviously, of being broken into, things being stolen, whatever the case may be. But when there's a police presence around, it helps curb that. And I think it would behoove us to have a police presence in our area. So Rich Myers and I are talking about that. We're also setting up a new website for the township. The fire department is going to have its own exclusive website, and the township will have its own website. And the reason for this is because there's so much information that we have to put on these websites that we can't stick it all on one website. And beside that, it would also help kind of separate us, if you will. Not that we want to be separated, but if you want to find out township information, you don't have to go to the fire department website, or if you want fire department information, you don't have to go to the township. It's split off. And so we'll be doing that. It will include information on the township website. It will have minutes from meetings. It will have the annual financial report. It will have, the other thing that we want to put on that is it's not an advertisement or an endorsement, but an awareness of businesses that are in the community, and we might put them on the website for about a month. For example, I mentioned Green's Automotive. We might put them on the website for about a month, not to advertise them, but just so the community is aware they're here and they're in our community. And then every month choose another business to put on that website. And then we'll have a place, I believe we'll have what we're going to call a trustees corner, where individuals can ask questions, get information, and so forth. But that website will be chock full of information. Our fire website, I'm not so sure what they're putting on it. Maybe
It's under construction, how's that?
it's been under construction since last April, my friend.
We're fixing it though. A little bit at a time, we're chipping away.
It is chipping away. I will give them that. So that is kind of the where we're going. We also recently, our insurance company sent us a new quote from some different companies. They shopped around for us, and we were able to shave off $30,000 off of one of our insurance bills. So we're able to, plus it gave us actually better insurance. For example, now, if one of our units, one of our apparatus gets stuck in the snow or whatever, we have towing. Before we were paying I-70 a lot of money for towing. So this is things that are going on. This administration, Tina, Jeff, and what are you doing back there?
I was just waiting for you to get done with your presentation and I won't walk in front of you.
You can walk behind me. And what's your name again? Anthony.
The other guy.
Yeah, the other chief. They've all been working hard, I will tell you that much. Usually I go home before they go home. And I'm usually telling them to go home on the way out the door. See you guys, go home. But they have been working hard. There's a lot of things that have happened in the last 3 weeks that we hit the door running and we still got our foot on the gas. And I don't know how long we'll keep our foot on the gas, maybe for the next 4 years. But we got our foot on the gas. We got some plans. We want to do some building improvements. Station 31, as you know, has kind of been, I'll use the term laid to waste, because in hopes of building a new station. Those hopes may still be alive, but it's just an ember at this point. So what we need to do is we need to take Station 31. We don't need to make it a Taj Mahal, but we need to make it livable. And so we've got some plans for Station 31. Tomorrow, for example, we're going to be installing a new steel front door, because as you walk in the station, you go through the glass door, the first thing you come to, the door that you come to, is a hollow core door. Now, I don't know if you know anything about hollow core doors, but you can kick them in rather easily. And for security reasons, if nothing else, we need to put a steel door up. And so that's what we're doing. We also have other doors in the facility that are in need of replacement. We have a steel door that goes from the living quarters into the bay area, and it's about ready to fall off the hinges. The frame is rusted. That doesn't need code. Doesn't need code for one thing. But it's also not safe in case you have a fire.
Mice are going to be mad.
I'm sorry?
Our mice are going to be mad.
Well, the mice are going to have to get over it. And we have other things. We have small things that we're looking at now. We've got some holes in the siding of the building, and we're going to get those patched up. But we've got lots of things to do to that building. One thing that we have in mind, I don't know how long it's been since you folks been in that station, but if you go into the bay area where the apparatus is kept, the walls are white metal, and the ceiling is white metal. Well, they used to be white metal. They're now gray and black metal. And so one of the things that we're going to do here shortly is get some bids on getting those walls and that ceiling pressure washed to brighten the place up and to clean it up. We've not had a climate vent system working in there for what, 4 or 5 years?
Maybe longer than that.
Longer
I'd
than
say
that.
8, probably.
The Plimo vent, what it does is it takes the exhaust from the apparatus and sends it out the building. When you start up a diesel engine, it belches out black smoke. Now, can you imagine starting a diesel every day in your garage with white ceiling and white walls
How do they have any brain cells?
without any vent? Exactly. I wouldn't have any brain cells. I don't have brain cells to start with. And I'd really be in trouble starting a diesel in my garage with all that smoke. So we need to take care of that. Along with that, what we'd like to do is paint the floor, epoxy, so that we have a nice bay for our equipment. Equipment's not getting any cheaper. It's not getting any lighter. And consequently, since we were not able to get the concrete project finished last year due to unforeseen circumstances, this year we'll be bidding out the concrete project again, and we'll take new bids on it, and we will give them the specifications. In the past, the concrete guys were giving us the specifications, and the bid we accepted was the cheapest job. The cheapest isn't always the best. So we will be specifying what we're looking for, and then they will have to match their bid to what we're looking for. If you look at a state or a government contract, that's what they do. They say, you're going to provide this, this, and this, and you're going to have it done in this amount of time. Now do your bid. And that's how we're going to operate, like a business, like a government business, and we're going to tell them what our specifications are. For example, our ramps, our tarmac, whatever you want to call it, it's probably going to be 8 inches thick. Because like I said, the apparatus is not getting any lighter. We're taking the concrete out an additional 10 feet for turning purposes because the apparatus isn't getting any shorter either. And also, we're going to put some metal re-rod in it, and we're going to put a new compact basin. We have a firefighter now who is donating some gravel to that project and donating some dirt, if you will, to filling in some of the holes out here that we've got. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts. But just bear with us. We're going to keep you informed as to what's going on. And when it comes time to spend money, these guys up here are going to know exactly what's going on. And we have nothing at all to hide. Nothing. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Jim, and we'll have a time for comments and questions.
Well, those are public questions and statements. Who's first?
You know, it's hard to have any questions when you have an administration that's so open and honest. That's, you know.
Short meeting, aren't you?
I do have a suggestion, I would say, about something you stated. I agree the policies are important. I work for a Fortune 500 company, and policies are important, right? Those policies should be updated and signed every year. What I would suggest that we've used is a DocuSign feature instead of using a paper file form. It's an electronic document of the file that's sent out to the employee. It is signed by the employee. It is stored electronically. That way, if you ever have floods or something, it's just a safer way to store that.
And since you mentioned it, I will say this. We have brought in our IT guy, and we're looking at things that we can do, and he's building a plan for us, if you will, to where we want to get to as far as our electronic communications and so forth, and storing stuff in the cloud and so forth. And we're working on doing that in an incremental way so that we don't have to a big burden up front, but rather build a system, but pay for it as we build it.
That's the only comment I had, Larry. Thanks for sharing the information, sir.
And Greg?
All right. I made a few notes here. Haynes Roofing should get a notice from your attorney just so that Haynes realizes that you're quite serious about all of this and that he feels like he's been put on notice. The second thing that I had a note on was that I'm glad that you're talking about doing something about internal controls. Internal controls is something that had been mentioned on every single state audit report as far back as I've been paying attention. That goes back to 2006. That's 17 years, something like that. Vehicle maintenance is another thing that I'm really happy to hear that you're going to be addressing. That's something that I have mentioned many times. I've been very concerned about the lack of vehicle maintenance and some sort of a preventative maintenance program. When I was in the Army, we had an incredible vehicle maintenance program that we had to adhere to. It was called Combat Ready. I think our emergency vehicles should always be combat ready, just like the Army vehicles. But that wasn't the only place, or that was just merely the first place that I got interested in vehicle maintenance out of necessity. I worked for General Motors and for over 30 years until I retired. And they had a preventative maintenance program that they would, that just blew me away. It was so detailed and so thorough. But they kept saying it was far cheaper to do preventative maintenance than it was to do repair. And that just stuck with me. And I like the fact that you're going to be taking care of the cemeteries, and you might want to get in touch with Joanne Stutch, and she is a historian. She is a doctor of history that lives in the Martinsville area, and she has been quite interested in cemeteries, particularly the abandoned cemeteries that have been turned over to townships. So I think that would be someone that might be able to give you some serious help with on that. Another thing is that I'm fascinated with your food truck thing that you're talking about. And Black Dog Brewery, just south of Mooresville, just slightly. They have a food truck that is at all of their events. I don't know if it's available or not, but it's just someplace that you might pick up a food truck. They don't serve food there at the Black Dog Brewery. They count on they have this outside vendor who takes care of that for them. And as long as I've lived here, I've only seen one fish fry or chili supper. It was a fish fry though, and I've missed those because when I lived in Monrovia, they had one or two a year. They had one at the 4-H festival that they put on as a town fair, and then the fire department had their own somewhere in offset from that particular one about 6 months. So they had two a year, and they pulled in some pretty good money at those, and the food was great.
Well, we've got places to do too, like Old Settlers and what's the other ones they have there? There's Old Settlers.
Old Settlers, the one I'm aware of.
Yeah, I mean, we could do something there.
Oh yeah, okay.
So is there an estimated time when the websites will be up where township residents can get minutes and like the annual report you mentioned?
We will actually have a website by next week. What we have to do is we have to actually go in and create one. John Hart has agreed to help us with that. We're currently right now trying to find a domain name that we can use. I tried probably 50 domain names the other day, and they're all taken. And the only one I could come up with that wasn't taken was Mad Trustee. I didn't think that was too clever. So we're still looking for a domain name that we can use. Once we have a domain name that is usable and is user-friendly and people understand what it is, then we'll be purchasing the domain and then going from there. How long is it going to take?
It won't take much time at all. It's really just getting all the information, like all the files that are on the other website, plus the new, all the minutes that need to be, you know. So before they delete any of those files, those all need to go onto a USB from the fire department website.
Capture them all.
I have some questions too on the fire department website. He knows I have emailed him. Because I know that firecompanies.com, it had like an employee log-on capability.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys use that, because we never got together to discuss anything on that website, because they did offer to help on it as well. But if you're going to have electronic communication policy, all your and if you do have them log on to there, you know, all those records would be stored within that website. And, you know, they could be directed that at 7 o'clock every day, you need to check to see if you've got any electronic communications. I don't know if you ever did get in touch with firecompanies.com, period, to ask them any questions, because Denise was saying that it had run out of space. And I mean, to me, it would have been a simple fix to take off previous, like, I don't know how far it went back, but I would have only kept like 1 or 2 years on there and freed up the space. But of course, you know, we kind of had some obstinance going on with the previous administration. And
our members do not use that members.
okay, well, that might be something you want to look into if you're going to utilize the website. And I don't know what it costs, but I'm just saying that it does have that capability. And, you know, and I'm assuming that everybody, all your firefighters have an email address, correct? And it's all mtfd.us.
Mm-hmm.
So those have got to be coming through your website.
Believe it or not, they don't.
Really?
Nope. They're all purchased
Through Microsoft?
Microsoft
Okay.
365.
Because that was something that we were discussing too, and because I knew they, you know, you could only have so many.
Yeah.
And they've changed, Microsoft changed all that. They used to give you that stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine that, the mighty dollar. More. But anyway, okay, so,
How Bill Gates affords his temperature
yeah, and it's like,
thermostat.
I think there needs to be a list of every active email address, and the ones that aren't active need to be deleted, because I don't know who's got what going, because those are emails that you're paying for.
Yeah.
So if they're not here and they haven't been here, like Jim Lang, just saying. I mean, when I went through the website, I was like going through all the stuff, and it was like they still had, when you would click under your picture, you would get somebody else's address.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying, it all needs to be gone through.
That was addressed shortly after the first year.
We canceled a lot of stuff after the first year.
Good.
Including credit cards, door codes, all sorts of stuff.
But yeah, there's, you know, as far as the website and stuff, I mean, it's a matter, number one, it's what I was telling him, that we just need to, number one, pick a domain. And, you know, if we want to go even with something so simple as, hang on a minute here, because I was sitting there looking at those before I left.
Your .govs are available.
.govs are available.
Yeah.
If you do Madison twp.gov, that's available. Madison twp.gov, all of those are available. I don't know if you have to go through the state to get a .in.gov, but it's also available. Madison.in.gov is also available.
Well, I mean, we can even just do like Madison Township. I mean,
It's available.
you know, .us, and keep it with the US that they're already using. But
But it's not available.
No, it is.
Is it?
Yeah,
Because I
it
checked-
is.
And maybe that's not the combination I put in, because like I said, I tried about 50 combinations, so I probably can't remember what all I tried.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
think
through
you're just
GoDaddy,
above
I
it,
brought it up through the domain. It says $7.99 for the first year.
Mad Township.
But yeah, Madison Township, because I told them, I said, you know, we didn't want to sit there and go Madison Township, Morgan County, Indiana, blah, blah, blah. I said, nobody's going to want to type that in.
So that's why I was trying to keep it simple.
So yeah, I mean, and I just thought, Madison Township, I mean, we know, and once we get the website up, it will come in with a,
Make sure it's very clear on the front page that it's Morgan County.
well, you put
Yes,
in
I-
there what it is,
There's
like
lots of
Madison
Madison
Township,
Townships.
Morgan County, Indiana,
It's like 17
trustee,
in
blah, blah,
Indiana.
blah. So it would come up when somebody does a search of it. But it's like I told you, you know, you don't want,
You don't want a big long name.
no, you don't want to have to type in Bloomington, Indiana Kennel
I
Club.
don't know if public access has any control over that or any requirements that what a
So-
website for a local government would need to get that for.
But I wouldn't even get a government website or domain. They aren't paying us for it. So, yeah, it's like $7.99 for the first year. But anyway, you can go through and go to GoDaddy, and there's right at the top. There's going to say search for domains.
And that's what I did, and it was .org, .com, .us,
Yeah.
dot.
Yeah,
Not available, not available. Done me trying another one. So,
yeah. There's a lot. I mean, I even did like Madison Township, you know, shortening township trustee.com, but I think it'd just be just as easy to go Madison Township.us.
Any other questions on this part?
Yeah, I had something, if everybody's finished out there. January 3rd meeting, Dawn and some other members of the audience, and Trudy, had a lot of questions about the salary resolution, and they were questioning, they wanted to make sure that we're within budget, and so Jeff and Larry both said, assured us that we were, and we got a handout, but it's a little ambiguous. There's a lot of information missing on it. So I sat down this afternoon and made myself a little spreadsheet with their information and my questions on it. So I'd like to see if I could go through them pretty quick. Probably if you, First question I have is, you know, on line 7 in this thing, they're not numbered, but 7th line, you have the 9 hourly firefighters.
Part-time people, yeah.
Okay, now, when you calculated their salaries, did you do it as if you had the same 9 people? In other words, if you used the same 9 people to cover those shifts, they would have overtime. Let me finish. They would have overtime. So they would have 40 hours at $14.50 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
They would have 16 hours a week at 22.75.
They're not allowed to have overtime.
Pardon me?
Part-time people cannot have overtime.
So they don't work 56 hours a week.
They-
You use a bigger
We use-
pool to ensure no one gets it.
Different people
So the
work.
salary would
Yes.
be 2,912 hours times 1450. Okay.
Correct,
that's
yeah,
it.
those are 9 positions that different people fill.
All right, that answers
Yeah,
that.
they're not allowed to have anything over 212.
Okay, then moving on down through that, we have some empty spots in here, like we have code enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
One person, you got allocated for that, $16 an hour, but how many hours did you calculate?
We figured that on about 16 a week, but he doesn't work that. He usually, he's a guy that has 2 hourly rates because he's a fireman. And then he also does code enforcement, so he has to have 2 rates for that.
Well, I've got him in fireman. He's covered in that.
Yeah, most of his hours are as a
But just for
firefighter.
his code enforcement activities?
I think he's done 8 hours this year so far.
Who is that?
Eric Brown.
So when you did your budget, you had to have an idea how many hours a year you would pay him.
Yes.
You know what that hourly
I put down like 16.
for the year?
Yeah. But knowing that most of his hours are on the fire truck, so
16 a year?
Well, this is just for this entry.
yeah.
Just
Uh,
a year.
16 at 2 week pay
And
period.
so I noticed that
A week.
So 8 a week, yeah.
for a captain, you know, they get extra pay. I think you said 3,600, but I just calculated it 3,675. That's close. And I looked at who would probably be a captain, probably your first class people. And I looked at their salaries.
We have 3 of them.
And then, so I took the 7% of that salary, so I'm okay there. Then,
Actually, one of the captains is-
when we get down to the part-time captain, lieutenants, you got an hourly figure you're gonna add on to them.
We have 1 part-time captain.
One,
Mm-hmm. And he's actually one of the 3 because we don't have 3 full-time captains.
so how many hours will he work a year?
He works the same as the 9, he's one of the 9 part-time positions.
Okay,
But he gets the extra, what, $1.23 for captain?
so he works, do they work 40 hours then, since they can't have overtime?
They work 24/48, but they have to take time off, so they stay under the 212, so they don't get any overtime.
So back to the hourly people, how many hours a year are they gonna work? The 9 people?
They would work 29/12 less their overtime hours that the firefighter exemption allows.
So
They don't.
in a year, however many 16-hour weeks there are, times 52, take that off. So basically 40 hours, you figured 40 hours a week.
Well, you have to take-
for the 9.
We get paid on 28-day cycles. So there's what's called a regular cycle and a long cycle. So in a regular cycle, they have 216 hours.
Mhm.
So they have to take 4 hours off there to give them a 212.
But I mean, for an annual
You can't.
budget, for us to
Now,
reconcile back.
Nelson, one thing that you're not quite understanding is their overtime doesn't start until they hit the 200.
They don't have overtime.
I know,
Part-time,
I
yeah.
know, but when you're talking about the hourly, when you're talking about the
No.
hourly, you keep saying overtime. They don't get overtime until they hit the 212 hours, correct?
Right.
And that's in a
part-time people-
4-week pay period.
Right. So part-time people that are firemen that work a 24-hour shift, they fall into that as well. They're allowed to work 212 hours in that cycle before they get overtime, and we don't allow overtime.
I mean,
for
your
part-time.
procedures are fine. It's just that you had a budget amount this year,
Mhm.
and we assured everyone that we're under budget. So
Right.
you had to assign a number of hours for a year for these people at $14.50 to know you're within budget. And I'm just wanting
Right.
to know what that
29
yearly number is.
2912,
2,912 hours.
yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Unless you're a civilian paramedic, because they fall under a different category, and they get paid on a 40-hour week, which is, let me see where they
Yeah, I got a
get,
question on them too.
they fall under the 2080, 832 rule.
So how many positions do you have for
Civilian paramedic?
Just one, right?
PRN? That's the PRN?
That's, yeah,
That's
those are
three of
just,
those.
those are just the fill-ins, they work whenever.
Whenever, but you need to know for purposes of the budget about how much you would use them in a year.
I did, I took the vacation time that the full-timers would get, because they're only allowed 4 vacation days. I took those 12 days, and that's when I assumed you would use PRN.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, I also fill in for them.
Well,
I don't get paid.
I'm just looking for hours
Right.
to do the math to see if
It's
our final,
Yeah, it's all in my office. I have to get it out of my office, and
Okay, you want me to just come to the office on that?
that'd be way better.
Okay.
I can explain it all to you.
All right, I will get an answer to all these questions I have in our next meeting, and I'll cover that. But I think it's important for me to do that, because there's so much concern about that, and I just want to, I've got the spreadsheet, it'll be in black and white, right there will be the numbers.
I think the problem is no one's ever explained how firemen get paid.
But it doesn't even matter for purposes of this budget, you guys know.
Right.
And you know, we have assured the citizens that we're within budget, and I just need to put numbers in this, and then my spreadsheet will tell me if those numbers come in under budget or not.
Right.
You know, right now, and so we just left out a whole lot of information in the form you guys had, and that was there. I mean, you guys know, and yeah, we're in budget, but no.
We want to trust you, but we've been burned.
Oh, believe me, I understand.
And so that's what I would like to do, and it's not, I'll come to your office, and you tell me when to come in, and I'll just be there.
Well, and I do think you need to write something up so that we can put it on the websites, on the trustee part, so that, and I mean for everyone, if it's a firefighter, if it's the paramedic, and it doesn't go by the same formula, and for the part-time people. And because that was my thing to you, is like, you know, you've got all these part-time things and stuff, and you've got a number, but you don't have it extended out to the year, what you think it's gonna be. So this really it lacks the information to come up with that figure.
So for
And
example,
so-
longevity, we got 13 people that qualify for that, and they get $100 a year, but we don't know how many years we're talking about in the department. We need to know how many people fit that category, or else we're not gonna be able to come up with a number for that we're gonna spend a year on longevity.
Right. I have all that.
Okay.
Just come by and.
Well, we all need to know it. That's the point. You
I will-
have it, but we need to know it.
We'll get it
I'm
on the
gonna get it
website.
and
The
give
board
it,
needs to
call
know
you.
it.
Okay,
Yeah, trust
when's a
them.
good time to come by?
Next week sometime.
Sometime.
Pick a day.
Just call you, and
Probably better call me because.
what's your name?
No, it is Monday.
On the website, are you on the website
I'll give
yet?
you my number.
Everybody has the same around.
739-2035.
They're all Mondays.
If you know how many.
Yeah, I got on the website, but it hadn't been updated.
There's so
Would
much
love
going
to
on.
have
We have-
All right, but
I'm
I
just
know
trying to
you
figure out how to
have
fire
all
department.
this, but I think it's fair to explain it to them, or show it to them.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, good.
Any other questions on that process? Now we have
I am Tina Turner. I'm the new clerk, working for Larry at the office. It's supposed to be part-time. I've pretty much been full-time, nonstop, since the first of the year. But I'm kind of up to speed with Tom's. We've been closing out 2022 bills that we were trying to figure out how we're gonna pay them, make sure they're paid in 2022's budget numbers. I think we paid our last 2022 bill yesterday. I was looking at how to do the bank reconciliation with Tom's today, didn't start that process. One of the things that we're doing, payroll, Chief Wilson asked if we could switch our payroll dates. Right now, they are Saturday to Friday, is that correct?
I think, yeah.
Anyway, if he would like to start the pay period on a Sunday, and then have it go through the second Saturday. That way, whoever is working, whatever shift is working on that first Sunday of the month, or the pay period, two-week pay periods, they have the long shift. It will be easier to track who should be on the overtime hours and the salary positions at the second pay period.
So how's that gonna work with the one, you're gonna have an extra day in
Yeah, so
one?
AccuPay told me that it wouldn't be an issue, but I also have been waiting 2 weeks to hear back from them. Tomorrow is the last Friday, and they haven't changed our pay cycle yet. So it was supposed to take effect this one pay period was supposed to end on Friday. We were asked them to extend it to Saturday, so it'd be 15 days instead of 14, and then start the next pay period on Sunday. And I'm going to get back to them tomorrow, and if we don't have it confirmed, we won't start it this time because it won't be confirmed.
Okay, so if you switch this, does that mean they would get paid a day later as well? They would get
No,
paid on Thursday?
We're still going to do the processing on Monday, pay on Wednesday.
Okay, what about, have you had situations with holidays and things, like we just did with Christmas and, sometimes, I know even where I work, sometimes there's a 2 or 3 day issue going on because of holidays
On Monday
and
being a holiday.
Monday being holiday and all that. It used to be here, they would get paid on whatever the policy was. They would get paid on Friday, but if they could produce it earlier, they would. And I know they've been consistently producing it on Wednesday, but they were never tied into that as it had to be done on Wednesday. They could only expect their pay by Friday.
So I'm told our deadline is Monday at noon. but we have really until Tuesday at noon. Like this first pay period that I did, the numbers didn't look right, and Jeff was looking over it. We found that there was an issue when I put in the overtime rates. Denise told me I need to put in the overtime rate in a certain field, and the AccuPay actually timed in half that. So like the overtime was really good but we caught it before we submitted it and fixed that problem in the system. So we didn't get really submitted till Tuesday morning, this last pay period. So and we still got our checks in the bank on Wednesday. So I think we're okay. They didn't seem to have a problem with it. We're not planning on changing the pay date. I think we're keeping it Wednesday because that's what it's been since for a while.
So are they they're getting paid for 2 weeks and you submit it and they're getting paid on the following Wednesday for the prior 2 weeks?
Yeah, the pay period will now it ends on a Friday, and they're getting paid on the following Wednesday. Now it will end on a Saturday, and they'll be paid on the following Wednesday. So that's one thing that we're trying to resolve. And like I said, I keep pushing back. I talked to Brooke, our processor, in person on the phone, and I'm like, you said you would get back to me about the pay period. I hadn't heard. She said last week, I'll get it back to you by Friday. She didn't, and so I tried to call. Anyway, I submitted questions again this week about that. But
I personally think that you'd be wise, since you're backing it up a day, to back up the payday a day too, just in case. Because there's always emergencies, computer equipment goes down, there's problems, this gives you
an extra day.
in emergencies that you, yes.
I don't know if that's something the board has to approve, changing the payroll date, or I don't know.
I
think that's something you could just talk to Larry about.
Would. Like I said, I think before.
Well, when I talk to her tomorrow, just to confirm if they can do it or not for this pay period, then maybe we can discuss maybe the back a day. The second thing that we come across is, since we are totally funding the salaried employees PERF through the township.
We should not be.
Well, we are. We're also paying Social Security on those employees. So I reached out to our Congressman Bear's office through Constituent Services, and we're going to get our full-time employees to provide a privacy release so that they can look at their tax records and such, and then the Congressman's office will push through for the IRS for us to get those full-time employees removed from having to pay Social Security for them.
For one thing, we should never be paying
The board
per
voted on
full-time.
it.
The board has never approved that. And we can prove, I mean, we've got the paperwork for that. So that should not be happening. Now, it does appear to me, just because I've gotten some reports that, and I spoke to Jim about it this morning, it appears that the reports look to me, again, I don't have information. I've asked, I want the total payroll report. I used to get them all the time, and then all of a sudden I can't get them. But the board approved that a portion of the PERF gets paid by the firemen. And from these reports, it looks to me that possibly the PERF people take the money out of the account for the whole pension, but we are supposed to be collecting off of the payroll, our portion. So it looks to me that so on their W-2 that they get, it should be, the taxable amount should be different from the total wages. And then when they get the PERF, then the taxable amount is going to show up on their statement. So I think we've got some bigger issues going on here.
Okay, well, I haven't even gotten access to PERF yet. I mean, I was just today talking to them again because I still haven't, we haven't uploaded any money to them since the first payroll I did.
Good.
So
This shouldn't be going on.
anyway, and that's
This board
something.
this board hasn't even approved any PERF.
This board has to.
So you can't sit there and pay it from the township money.
This probably needs to be discussed.
Right, not with me.
not with you, but this needs to be settled, but outside of the meeting. Because if we got an issue, we need to get it straightened up.
Right.
At least we know there's an issue. You take note of it at the next meeting, bring it back and put it on the agenda.
It's gotta be before she does
That gives
payroll.
time to get-
I say there's no reason to have a further discussion about it today.
And we've been paying their.
The other thing is,
Then
lots
somebody's
of the
gonna
stuff
need to
hasn't
owe some
been
money
run.
back.
I mean, it's been put into Tom's, but they weren't being paid through Tom's. They're putting township checks. They're running through the bank, using bank checks, then there'd be an entry into Tom's, and then, or paid through credit cards, and then an entry into Tom's for the credit card. I'm not really sure things like raised trash and those kind of DirecTV, those are paid through a credit card. I don't think if we ran a report on what we paid on DirecTV, we would get a true result because it was paid to a credit card company, not to the DirecTV, so it wasn't accounted as DirecTV. I mean, it might have been billed as a utility in a code somewhere when they paid that credit card, but didn't say that was DirecTV or that was raised trash.
Correct.
So I don't think it was billed improperly or paid improperly, but we can't get a good record of what we spent on raised trash or what we spent on DirecTV. So I'm making an effort to pay through Tom's. It's a little bit more laborious because Larry has to sign checks at the bank. There's electronic signature. Larry wouldn't have to sign a check if we put it at the bank. Anyway, just trying to be more, using the software for what it's for so we can have better accounting and know where we're spending our money. That's one of my plans. Anything else?
Sounds good, Mrs.
Yeah, the bottom line is Tina is doing her best to streamline everything, but to have everything properly accounted for. And when she has an issue, she makes phone calls and she reaches out by email, whatever she has to do.
Like, for example, some of these 2022 things I've been trying to figure out if we already paid them or not. Well, I looked for an invoice. Well, it wasn't an invoice number. But then I found a payment for that company that matched the amount. So I'd have to go look at pay detail. It's just cumbersome. So hopefully now we'll have a check number with an invoice number, and either one of those we can look up into Tom since they should be together.
So, has the township been paying the full perf amount on every employee
I
from
can't answer that question because
2022?
I don't know. I mean, I know what they paid last year. I had the reports. Do you know that answer?
I don't know the answer, but we can get it. And we can discuss
Well,
it
yeah, I
in
think-
detail.
Because I found
I
the
think
folder
we
with
need
all
to
the
know if we're
perf
paying their
reports for
full perf
2022 are
amount,
all
they're
in
supposed to be
there.
paying a portion of it.
I agree.
So since perf's a big question, I think that should be
That's
added
a lot
to
of
the
money.
agenda of the next meeting, and it will be a topic that the clerk would be ready to speak about at that point,
Well,
and we will discuss it
Yeah.
further.
Yeah,
At that point, we will not have the clerk heading up that discussion.
right.
We'll have the chief,
Right.
people who are knowledgeable, more knowledgeable.
Yeah, and I'm just asking, you know,
That makes
do we
sense.
know?
I agree.
That's the thing.
We'll table the perf discussion until the next meeting. Where we'll get out.
Okay, I just wanted to make this statement. Previously, at one point, the board had asked to get a report on the credit card bills, because like you're saying, what you're speaking to, it would just go all into, it would just say whatever, credit card company.
Credit card company.
And so they wanted it divided out to say what we were actually paying. So that did happen several years ago. Hasn't happened recently, but that was something nice as well. And I have gone in to the office to look at some of the credit card bills because they're a substantial amount of money, and it's like, what are we buying? And nobody knows. The board doesn't know. Anybody doesn't know because, again, like what you're saying.
Well, right now, there's only one credit card for the township, and Anthony holds that. And he uses, I'm not sure what you use it for, but I'm sure it's for township business. For instance, our phone system is a voice over internet. And apparently, it was billed toward one of those credit cards, $50 at a time, and then however many calls we make or faxes we send would get billed against that $50, and when we would get so low, they would charge only $50. Well, a couple weeks ago, the credit card that was being billed was one of the ones that's canceled, and we didn't have phones for about half of the day. So we figured that out. Now it's getting billed to Anthony's card. But I don't know if there's another way to handle that, because that's something they want to go into our credit card or some type of auto pay system. But that's the only thing I know that we're billing specifically to a credit card. That's like an office expense. Other than that, he's just picking up things we need for the township. Office supplies.
Do we have actually
Toilet
a
paper.
contract with them? I mean, do we renew a contract with them
The
yearly?
voice
or-
over internet,
Yeah,
I don't know. I think that's something we handle through Telemenga.
Yeah, and we've
That's
been in
Steve Oshman's company.
conversations with them as far as
you
our
might
system.
wanna check
One of
that
the other
out.
things we've been looking at is the possibility of a different phone system,
Right.
so we don't have to go through this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have somebody call you on that, but I
So
know, I
right
don't know
now-
if it'll be any
Endeavor.
good.
Right now,
but-
there's a folder. It doesn't even fit in
They
like
do
the
all the-
annual file cabinet. It's so thick because the credit card, even for 2022, is like this thick of receipts and bills.
They do all the
But right
phones
now, we
for
just have one
Mooresville,
credit
all
card.
their
and
government
Anthony
phones.
owns it. No one else has a credit card.
Terrible.
At this
Have you
point,
guys
we're not-
considered doing any kind of PO system?
Yeah, Tom's doesn't have POs for, Tom's has POs, but it's only in the township relief section. You generate POs on a case. So like if you want to pay money to Kroger or to a landlord or to an electric company, those POs are for that, and then you write checks against those POs and then you track them. Because I asked Tom's, I said, is there a way to do a PO for a fire purchase? They're like, no, and I said, well, will I use the POs in the fire leaks? They said, no, those are for fire leaks and it won't line up, and I'm like,
I
okay.
think,
But we can do our
I think
own
Anthony
POs.
has a better answer to that question.
We can do our own POs, like,
Well,
he gave me a PO today, that one he generated for some
The
EMS
reason-
equipment.
The reason I was asking that was because when I had went in and I was looking at the credit card bill, you guys would buy a tire or something from eBay. It didn't have any note on what piece of equipment it went to.
Exactly.
There was
We've
nothing
been
on that
doing this the last 3
invoice.
weeks. I mean,
And I know you were supposed to be keying it in on some maintenance log, but there was no indication that you had logged it in maintenance because there was no signature on there.
90% of the time, I didn't know what apparatus it went to.
Yeah, and that's the
Operated
problem.
on an in-theory program.
You know, you don't know if you buy something that it's gonna be under warranty for a year if you know, and that you can go back.
Not
Well,
to, not
even-
to take Tina's time, but
Yeah.
we just, the fire chief just implemented a PO form that we have to fill out now.
Good.
So she knows exactly.
Yeah, I got a PO today from
How our
Sue.
I think
current
it-
PO system
yeah.
works is the date and the unit number of the person making the purchase. And we have limited it to just a very few people who
Good.
can make purchases.
Right.
So we'll know, like, if it's today's date and it has 8302, that I made that purchase.
Because,
We
you
are
know,
looking for an online.
And like
Right.
Menards, anyone can go to Menards and sign for
Purchase, yeah.
things and get billed to us. Larry went to Menards and limited who can go sign for things.
yeah, and I think that's
They were
good.
names on there, we didn't know who they were.
Like I said, I
Yeah,
just,
people
be
need to know
careful.
on that.
Those were things I had mentioned to Denise, you know, it's like, because
Bring it
he
in.
had no idea
I think this
who
new administration
bought,
is
you know,
going
you
well.
don't know who bought it, or what it was for, or
They
did
didn't
it get
need
logged
it
into
anyway.
maintenance?
Yeah.
Sounds
There,
like she's
you know,
been busy
it would
cleaning
be
a
so
lot of stuff
simple,
up.
just even getting a stamp with
Hopefully
your
her job is
initials
to go back
going,
to
yeah, I
part-time
did
soon.
this, now go, you know, here.
And
But-
one other
Covered in
thing,
content.
the filing, I mean, I guess my first time to come up to speed with the software and using the software and getting caught up on the financials, but the filing is not caught up. Like, and, like I need to empty out the last drawer, which is 2019, get out of that 4-year filing cabinet, move stuff down. I talked to Larry, we're gonna look at trying to have a teenager come in after school for a couple hours when I'm there and pay them maybe $10 an hour, up until a certain, like $600, we don't have to pay a W-9 or anything, just to utilize my time better to work on financial stuff and not just moving files around. 'Cause that's something someone, like a teenager, could do under my supervision. So, but we haven't found anyone yet, but we're talking about it.
No.
We,
Oh, no.
I assure you that
Don't have to
Tina
pay
has
me.
been doing everything she
Oh,
can to
yeah,
make sure
I'm
she
sure,
pays the
I
bills
have no
correctly.
doubt.
Even last week, we had one, that was a $2,000 tire purchase, and we called the vendor to see if that had been paid. And having to sit there and make phone calls and follow up, that is very time consuming, as you know, to try and get your information, whether the bill has even been paid yet or not.
Well, I appreciate all of the hard work you're putting in for your part-time job, and I hope that it goes back to part-time soon.
Yeah, me too.
Right? I'm sure cleaning up the mess and then start going forward, trying to do things the correct way, is not an easy job, so yes, thank you.
Thank you, welcome. Any more questions for the clerk? Thank you.
I'll give you one. Hold the bullets. All right. I would have liked to have an annual report from last year. 2 reasons. Number one, I'm way too busy to even get it done because it would be several pages. And the second one is the record keeping was so bad that I can't find the things I want.
Do it going forward.
I'll make my own for next year. Maybe. So, here's what I got for you so far. From last year, we had total responses 1,024. So it's just under 3 a day. Total apparatus trips, which is the number of the rigs actually leave the fire station, that was 1,976. Engine 31 did 276 calls. Ladder truck did 622. The medic did 636. Rescue squad did 54. The brush truck 47. Most of them were me as a paramedic in it. And the tanker did 35. Also, I'm the only medic on duty, so if I have to leave, I apologize, and Tony will take over for me. So we've been lucky so far. We had 25 structure fires last year, and our percentage of fire to EMS is 70.68 EMS. So about 30% fire. So we're right around the national average-ish. Of course, that's demographics and stuff. You know, you factor all that in. EMS billing. We billed $556,834.52. Adjustments and write-offs, $383,760.92. For a total revenue collected by the fire department, $212,993.72. So that's your ambulance revenue for last year.
But you don't know, does that include the costs deducted for the personnel?
This is just billing. This is ambulance billing report from our
Yeah,
billing
no, I'm just
company.
wanting to know what the true real figure is.
Oh, no, this is just the income.
This is just our income from taking people to the hospital. So far this year, we've done 43 calls, which is about average, about where we're at. And we have had 29 open shifts of 133, and that's about $9,000 in payroll we haven't used to fill those shifts. Roughly. That's it. That's a basic report. Any questions about that part before we
Are we
jump in?
gonna start getting the ones that Mooresville or somebody else is covering? Or that we're covering for them so that we can break those numbers
I
down?
think she's talking about mutual
Like
assistance.
mutual aid?
Yes.
Yeah, that's some of the records I can't find. If
Well,
I was doing it, you would have them, but
Well, but we can start it from January 1st of this year.
well, I've already
Okay,
taken it. I'm coding things different, so
good, okay.
I know
Just
how
curious,
to
just
manage
curious. You know, it's like,
yeah.
are we helping them? Are they helping us? I think that kinda needs to be tracked.
Yeah, all of the fires that we and they do, all of us are on those fires. I mean, we're one
But
run
is it
fire
our
department.
territory? Is it in our area? That's what I wanna know.
Well, I can tell you those 25 fires. If it was in our area, everyone was here. Brown, Mooresville, probably Brooklyn. But
In our township as well.
I have to
Yes,
break all that
that's what
down.
I mean. Is it in our township? And
Right,
who's,
I understand. And who's here? And when are we going there?
yeah, why
Right.
and when?
Yeah.
It's nice to help you.
They are. We got some resolutions, but they're going to call for me. They need a paramedic, so
Oh,
Good luck.
Tony's going to have to do it.
okay.
Let me say this, we are not doing all 7 resolutions tonight due to time constraints.
Yeah, we're knocked it down to
We're
this.
actually gonna do the top 5 tonight, so.
I'll do this one. I'll do the first one real quick.
Disappointed.
Like it.
Yes, I won't.
Say,
There, start me. I'm sure it's me. Gotta go. All right, if I don't transport, I'll be back. But I probably will if they're calling. See you later.
Say it loud.
Before you get started, I think it's proper for your resolutions to be, have some sort of a coding number on them to identify them for in the future against other resolutions. I mean, right here you're going to have 5, so you should have separate numbers for these resolutions. I mean, typical numbering system would be something like R1-1-23. The 23 is kind of obvious. I mean, and the first one would be for January. The second one would be first resolution of the year, and then 23 to identify. But that way, why you can later on refer to them and pick out separate them from other resolutions. So each one should have something like that. The second resolution would be like 1-2-23.
I think that's a great.
You guys okay with that?
Yes.
Because the first resolution has 23-01-0.
Didn't we have a resolution at the last meeting for salary resolution though?
Indeed.
That may be the case, and therefore this shouldn't be number one.
Right.
Number 2?
You can also just do year dash.
You wanna ask his question before he starts?
1-2-23. Am I correct? 1-2-23? Is that what you're gonna go with?
What I have here is 23-01 for the month of January.
Okay,
-02 because the salary resolution should be.
that works.
Put it, make it a colon instead of a dash because it looks like a date.
I don't know if we're gonna use these today, but I bet I'll.
If you do 2023
Yeah, I
dash
would just do
01.
2023-01 and make it easy.
What's that?
And I would just do like 2023-01 and have a book that says this is the date and what
Not
it
do
is.
the month? Like
Not
wait,
do the month.
Not do the month?
No,
Because it looks too much
and
like a date.
somebody's gotta,
That's how most places do
Have
it,
a
I think,
book
is
with
year dash number
numbering.
resolution.
Okay. All right, so we'll do
2302.
2023-02.
Say it again.
Dash 02.
Okay.
Like Kristen said, otherwise it looks like a date.
Tony, repeat that, please.
2023-02. The salary resolution would be 2023-01. Tony, it's all you, buddy.
Okay. All right, so do pardon me because I wasn't a part of all these conversations between our fire chief and the fire chief or the people that are looking to go into a deal with us. But the first resolution is the Madison Township Fire Department wants to trade. And Larry, please, you know more about this than I do. Please help me through it. Want to go into an agreement with White River Township Fire Department. You guys all have a copy of the resolution. So basically it says, whereas the rescue squad is not useful to the township anymore, deemed by the fire administration, we have a piece of equipment that is just too much for us, right? For the size of our township. It says, whereas the White River Township Fire Department, Johnson County, and those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stipulations there is what the agreement actually is. So basically we give them the rescue, and we're actually getting a 2007-2018 Spartan fire engine valued at $200,000. So
Reason
that's,
for the two dates?
huh? Go ahead.
Just the reason for the two dates, it's actually titled as a 2007, but it was completely refurbished in 2018.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's a refurb apparatus, so we're getting rid of the rescue to help facilitate our engine company needs. We do have a couple of apparatus that need some attention. We all know that. We've talked about it. Engine 32 is currently at the body shop, JBK, and it's going to be an estimate of $10,000 to fix the frame. But there's good news about that coming down the pike here in a minute, or soon.
So then this Spartan fire engine would replace 32.
That's correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. With that, we'll get one set of Matro hydraulic extrication equipment with 11-year transferable warranty valued at $34,000. So with this, we're going to upgrade some of our extrication equipment so we can better serve, the community in the sense of if we have to do any type of vehicle extrication or any commuter that travels through our community. We're getting one Lucas device. Lucas device is one of those things that we can put on people that provides chest compressions. It improves the outcome of a cardiac arrest because it's given proper depth and proper ratio Because as firefighters, right now, if we had a cardiac arrest without the Lucas device, we'd have our ambulance there, and we'd have both engines because we do a cycle of 2 minutes for somebody to do chest compressions. We get fatigued because our protocol states that we have to do on scene chest compressions for 30 minutes. So we do that 2-minute rotation with the fire crews. And sometimes they get fatigued, right? And then the quality of CPR is not as good as what the Lucas device would provide. One set of Rescue 42 stabilization jacks. What that does is in vehicle extrication, if we have a vehicle on the side or if it's down in a bank or something like that, we need to stabilize it to make it safe for us to go in and extricate. We use those tools, those stabilization jacks. And there's other miscellaneous small equipment to be determined by both townships, and that could, that could be, with the engine they're giving us a thermal imaging camera. I don't know what all that is, but so that's the first resolution. So we're getting rid of the rescue, and we're getting all this equipment that are served the community.
My question on the fire engine, will they be providing equipment with that, or will we just take the equipment off our current engine and put it on there?
NFPA states that if you sell, buy, transfer, it has to come per what NFPA requires for a Class A pumper.
So be fully equipped.
Usually what happens is on the equipment, there is some material or some apparatuses on the equipment that comes attached.
Okay.
That has to go with the vehicle.
Okay.
But for example, talking about extrication and jacks and so forth,
Yeah.
the ones that are on the heavy rescue right now, some of them range about that tall.
Right.
And they're designed for semis and things of that nature that you might find along the expressway. We've never used them.
Yeah.
And we've had them since 2014. What we would be getting is some that we can actually use.
Perfect. And then also on the Lucas system, do we know the age? Is there a
It's gonna
warranty?
be brand spanking new.
Brand new.
Yes.
Any warranties?
Yes, it'll have a warranty. What is happening is White River is ordering 2 new ambulances. Along with those ambulances, they're ordering a Lucas device for each one,
Okay.
and they've agreed to order a 3rd one for us.
Cool.
So they're basically paying for it, and we're just getting the benefit.
This
of
sounds
it.
like a great idea.
And it's
This is a
what
good
was it?
trade.
It's only about $16,000.
Sometimes
Shows
it's
16,600.
Yeah.
So this is kind of one of the benefits when we have the fire chief that we do, because Jeff's been around for quite some time,
He's got good.
and he has good connections that will help make our environment better as well.
All right, so I already warned you I'd ask this. What is the book value of our equipment that we are considering trading?
We are not trading any equipment off the truck.
No, but what is the value of what you're trading from
Rescue, it
us?
says 250,000.
The rescue is 250,000. That's all we're trading.
No, I think she means what did we
What
pay
is-
for it?
Well, what is our book value with the depreciation and everything?
This is the fair market value.
And who is that verified through?
That is verified through one of the engine companies that sells used equipment.
Do we
I couldn't tell you exactly
I mean,
the name of it right now.
don't you think we should get more than one and in writing?
It's a fair market value. I mean, that's.
Yeah, well, so says who, and it's one company. That's my, I'm sorry, I'm used to getting multiple figures, from different companies, not
And
just
they're-
because somebody says
And Chief
one
Wilson's not
time.
here to answer that question, so I'm not going to answer it for him, because he may have gotten more than one valuation on it.
Well, I think it should be, and I think I think the public should know what is on our books as the value to what we're talking about getting rid of.
What she's referring to is that any deal that's valued over $200,000 should have three estimates.
And I'm not arguing that.
Okay.
Well, I guess my comment is kind of possibly with them, but when it says valued at, do we have paperwork? For instance, the Spartan, also our equipment, the extrication stuff. Do we have paperwork that says that that is the value.
It saves you going that
Documentation.
equipment.
Yeah, I'll just say the same thing. Chief Wilson isn't here, so I can't validly answer that question for you. I do know that he's reached out to several manufacturers. It's not like he's just pulled a number out of his.
Well, if you don't have that information, I don't
guess-
think you should vote on it.
I guess what I'm saying is I think those valuations, not necessarily that I need them, but they should be attached to the minutes so that that is documented. I mean, when and if they vote on it.
Resolution is documentation.
Yeah, I don't think they have the backup on it. I don't think they should do it.
So one of the things with this resolution, obviously, there's some equipment on there that would be very beneficial to the residents of Madison Township. So that's where that resolution is.
I'm not taking his word for it.
And how do you guys want to do this? You guys want to do this resolution or hear all of them, then vote on them? Or since we're individually numbering.
One at a time.
Yeah, we're individually numbering, so I think we would.
I just had one other statement, and that's at the fourth line there. It says, and the following resolutions were made, which that S should be off of there. And this sentence, in my opinion, shouldn't even be up there because they were made, seconded, and adopted. That's not necessarily going to happen, but it may happen. So it, to put that up at the top.
Well, let me say this. We're open to all those suggestions and all that.
Okay.
Keep in mind, and we'll correct what we need to correct, and we'll say we're wrong because evidently we're wrong. But keep in mind, this is a new administration that's not done this before. So we can take it back and do whatever we need to do with it. If we make a mistake, we're going to tell you we made a mistake.
I just think it's due diligence to have an equipment valuation on ours and what we have on our books, and somebody to verify the value of what we're talking about
So
trading for.
I'm going to make a suggestion because Chief Wilson mentioned that there's a chance that he could be back.
Yeah, could do that.
Let's table the first resolution.
Okay.
Let's look at the other resolutions to see if Chief Wilson is back.
Okay.
At that time, the board would revisit the first resolution to determine if the vote will be made tonight on that.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Move on to the next one.
So the next one is 2023-03.
Sir.
Okay, this is regarding our dive equipment. Jeff quoted the state statute that covers this, permits the township to sell all equipment at fair market value as determined by a reputable vendor/dealer. So this resolution is nothing more than giving the okay to the fire department to start seeking out potential buyers of our dive equipment. The community may know that in the first year we marked our dive team out of service. It wasn't enough training, and we just didn't have enough resources to keep that program going. So basically this resolution is for you guys to give us permission to sell the equipment.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So providing a resolution to start to look to sell the equipment. Before the sale is complete, will they come back for another resolution on what the price of the amount we are agreeing to sell the equipment?
Yes, because it'll come back.
Yeah.
It'll come
She's
back
saying
with the
no.
value. No.
If you read this, it says necessary to sell the equipment purchased to the provisions of the code to take all. So it
Does that code specify that
it
they
leads
have to
me
come
to
back?
believe that if you sign this, that you are giving permission for them to sell it.
What we're looking for, and again, excuse our ignorance, but what we're looking for is permission to get the value on it
Yes.
and to get bids on it and then bring those back to the board.
Okay, then maybe the wording should just have been
Yeah.
changed.
I agree with Ms. Trudy on the wording of it.
If
I do agree with the fact that the dive team's been disbanded. There's no sense in keeping this equipment. There's no sense for a dive team in our area. We may be diving in ponds. What I would suggest is possibly we scratch out the word sell, make an amendment to this, and explore for bids would maybe be prudent to.
Where are you at with that there?
Where it says, whereas code
third
permits the
paragraph.
township to sell, I would say permits the township to solicit bids or offers, however you want to phrase it, for the equipment, for fair market value. That way, we don't just say, hey, we give permission to sell, and all of a sudden $40,000 worth of diving equipment sold for $10,000 and such like that. So just so we can say that we are doing our due diligence, that we didn't give a blank check to go sell whatever it would be. So.
Yeah. And I don't, like I said, I don't know what Indiana code states. Indiana code may say it has to come back.
I couldn't even begin to tell you.
So
we'll scratch out the word sell, permits the township to explore bids. That's what I'm gonna, so if you want something different, that's fine.
So is this something that you would want me to like change the text on this before you would sign off on it?
What I was going to do is simply scratch the word out. I was going to initial it myself, have a couple
Then
of these
name
guys
change.
initial it as well.
Yeah.
And then we'll make a,
Move to approve the amended resolution.
so, I'm initialing, I'll do this one as well, so we have copies.
Can you also at the
So-
top change on that fourth line resolutions to just resolution? Take that S off and,
Were you an English teacher, Trudy?
no, I was not.
I was just gonna say, because that S is bothering you right now.
Well, it does because it says resolutions and it's only one.
No, I understand completely. Yeah, which line is that on, Trudy?
On the fourth line,
Gotcha. Your S has been deleted.
Oh, okay.
If I had white out, I would use that, and I will initial that as well.
well, it's really the second.
Okay.
I'll just wait.
No,
we have to,
So we got
Anybody
two,
else?
the resolution.
and we just need your initial there, your initial there, and Nelson, and then we'll get a amendment.
I agree.
So we just basically order the dive equipment.
What was this resolution number?
The
3.
Cool.
Is it 2023? Just like 3, no one on the
Right.
because it's
2023-03. They're going to go with that.
Okay, so the first one,
They're not identifying the month.
they're just putting 2023
So-
02.
Jim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also noticed on the, whereas Indiana code permits the township to sell the equipment. I don't know if that needs changing as well.
that would be
The
them.
Indiana code.
That would be them.
Do you see in the
not
third
us.
paragraph there,
Yeah.
third line?
Because I don't think that the Indiana code permit, would talk about the exploring of the options of receiving bids. So I think that should be modified
Deleted.
slightly as well.
To explore bids again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know what the code says.
That's what I'm looking at.
We might be in trouble keeping that part in there too.
The revisited resolution should,
Yeah, that's what he was saying. All right, transfer to volunteer fire department. I don't, that code,
So basically, Chief, what they're doing is some of the terminology
Okay.
of how it is like, on this one here, it's to, you cite the code and it says permit the township to sell the equipment.
Mhm.
They're wanting it to be a little bit more streamlined as to explore, which this language here says that the township is the one that sells the equipment, so that comes to the government board,
Right.
not us.
Gotcha.
whereas
So
the town,
So we can't sell something without their approval.
Approval, yes.
right.
So
Whereas the township board permits the township to explore and receive bids, something like that.
Yeah.
Because the board is given permission.
Because we're going to go on the bid system anyway. Now,
Yeah.
I think that there's some provisions that, such as like with the rescue, that
Yeah, when you actually do the
we're
sale,
doing a transfer between township to township, we don't have to get bids. But if we sell it to the private public,
We have to get bids.
we have
yeah.
to get bids. And that's a 3-bid system, and then there again, the bids are submitted to the board,
Seals.
sealed bids, and then the board is the one that approves what we're selling it for.
Right.
Who's
We can sell apparatus to another fire department without a bid.
Stipulations we can turn around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
do we need
I
to
think
change
that should.
anything?
they
So
should
then you
just
guys aren't
mark
gonna be
out
able to
the IC code
sell
in case it doesn't really
anything. You'll
apply
just-
because we
Until
don't
we
really
change
know.
that.
These resolutions will just approve you
Give
to
them
start
permission
looking to
Yes.
sell.
It's a
That's
declared
looking to
surplus
sell.
so that they
And
can
then
get rid of it.
The
And
rescue
then
squad,
then we collect all the data, then the data goes back to them with the exception of the rescue squad, and that's for equipment,
So now, if you guys are gonna put this on some kind of like municipal or something like that, is that the only place you're gonna look?
No,
sell it?
in the past, we've sold, like old grass rigs. You guys remember Larry Stevenson that lives over here? Larry's bought an old grass rig, but he had to go follow, even though he was a member of the department at one time, or maybe at the time that he purchased it, he had to submit a bid just like everybody
Right.
else.
Now, I'm just thinking, you know, are we gonna try and market it to other fire departments? You know, like sending emails out to ones that we know that are possibly interested in
I've been approached by
starting a
Brooklyn
dive
about the
team?
Explorer.
Or are we going to try
Oh,
and
yeah, okay, you get there.
ask others that have existing dive teams? Would they be interested in everything we have? And giving, you know, I think we need a book value on what
We do,
the,
but we've already had some departments express interest in the equipment.
well, that's all fine and well,
That's
but,
what I'm
I could-
saying, you talk about marketing, we've already
Yeah.
had some express from other
Right.
departments that have dive teams.
right.
Yeah, we need to look at market value and all that, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I just think,
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
not gonna give it
we
away.
need to market it ourselves by sending it to other fire departments that we know have dive teams or other ones that are interested in starting a dive
That's
team.
what we're,
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, I speak for myself, the fire chief and the trustee, is that, and the board probably at this point, we're going to get as much money out of that dive gear as we
Yeah,
possibly can.
I just want it to go to as many
Yeah.
places as possible,
Yeah.
not just because
And then
Brooklyn said they're
reappropriate.
interested.
So,
That was
and
something else.
dropping
I thought you were.
so amendments have been made to, this to, change,
You're
get rid of
keeping
the
track of all that
S.
for them, right?
I've got it,
Okay.
yep, got them both
Thank
on
you.
2 documents.
Okay.
We're gonna get rid of the S, we're going to, change the word from sell to explore.
Okay.
So we understand that the bids will come back to us for approval on this said diving equipment.
Right.
And so on and stuff like that. So I make a motion to accept the amendments that have been initialed by the board.
Excuse me,
All in favor? Aye. So the amendments have been accepted.
but we don't know if that IC code is correct
I
in either
scratched the
place.
IC code out and I replaced it with Madison Township Board.
Okay, because I didn't
It's
hear
been
that.
initialed by all board
And
members.
that's the IC code we have.
Okay.
Also, the
Sounds
word
good.
after resolution say what, it should say was, since it's not plural, we have
Probably, yes, all grammatical errors will be
Yes.
fixed.
I make a motion to accept this, board, with their resolutions, that have been made. Yep, I make a motion to accept. So,
Aye.
aye. All in favor, there we go.
Was that on 20?
2303. I think.
2023 03.
03?
Signed 19th day of January.
It's just, yeah, it's a big copy.
I think they have it on.
Yeah.
Nelson on
Sitting
those.
out the side of the
You can start speaking to 2023-04, sir.
With the permission of the board, can I go back to 2023-02?
Can we table that still to the end of these previous two and knock these rest of these out real quick?
Sure
So,
All right, so the next resolution is 04.
04, yes, sir.
Okay.
Exact same changes to these that were made as we did 2020, the third one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you guys are probably gonna have to go back and make the amendments to this one as
Sounds
the
good.
last one.
I'll work on those on
Seems
my
like the
end.
language is there on all of them. All right, so this one here is just basically, we're wanting to explore and get bids for the sale of the 2014 Ford Interceptor SUV. I think Chief Wilson has already explained that he's had one department reach out to him already. So we'll see what that, but this basically is a resolution giving us permission to explore and accept bids for the sale of that vehicle.
What's the mileage on that?
$121,000.
Here,
Not
I'm
bad.
working on it.
Yeah, and it's a good running vehicle. It was well
Is
maintained.
it still Kenny Berwick out there in Brooklyn?
No.
No?
Mike McCool's the chief.
McCool's the
Okay.
chief. I think Kenny's assistant chief
Kenny was
still.
the assistant chief.
But McCool kind of hinted around
Cool.
that they might be interested. So, all right.
What's the blue book value on it?
I'm sorry.
What's the blue book value on it?
We haven't looked yet. We're not that far.
Yeah.
Part of the exploration of the sale.
Once again, these
We're just trying to get
resolutions is
permission to
nothing
move
more
forward
than-
before we waste any time doing anything.
You got it, yes, sir, you did. So just like the last resolution, we made the same changes to removing the S, changing the Madison Township Board and Explore, all been initialed by all city board members. I make a motion to accept the changes to the resolution. I'll second. All in favor?
What is it?
I make a,
What is it?
motion to accept the resolution, with the changes that the board has made, so. Second,
I second that.
all in favor? Aye. All right.
What's an interceptor?
It's just-
Police package, police motor,
It's actually a Ford Explorer.
Okay.
Ford Explorer.
Zoom
Intercept
zoom.
Explorer.
This one.
Gives a little extra boost when we're
You
responding.
can move on to 2023-04, sir.
2023-04.
That's the one you just
We just did
approved.
05.
We go 05?
Well, yeah, sorry.
No. All right, so here again, we're asking the board for permission to explore options and take bids of the sale of one of our engines, engine 32. It's a 2009 Pierce fire engine. It's valued approximately at $100,000, which the chief will obviously do due diligence on that to get more of an accurate number on that. But this would be here again, it's the same resolution, same issues with the that you guys approved before, but we're just wanting approval to start seeking bids and explore options of selling it.
And we do have a potential buyer for that apparatus as well.
Is it a fire department?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The local fire department in Hendricks County recently lost their engine in an accident.
I'm not exactly sure the
Okay,
specifics. I
and
didn't want to
recently
dig into
lost
their
their primary
business.
pumper, and they're looking for a primary pumper. So as soon as we can get this resolved and get this approved, we'll be helping out another fire department.
Before the question's asked, where are you getting your valuations?
We contacted a broker. Their name is Brindley Mountain. They
Okay.
deal in wholesale and used fire engines, and they have this type of fire engine, a few of them, and they're valued from one that's not in really good shape at all, which is around 60,
Mm-hmm.
to some that are really nice. They're about 160, 170. So we landed in the middle with the condition of ours. We need to put about $10,000 of maintenance work into it because the frame rails need some attention. So it's in the shop right now, having the frame rails repaired. That was an estimate.
Will that
So-
increase the approximate value or keep it the same?
It'll keep it the same.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to get much more out of that one.
It's old.
Yeah,
It's-
and it hasn't. You know, it's.
If we can get
hard
anything
life.
out of it, that's good.
Yeah, it's the Coatesville Fire Department. They're a 501c3, so they're not as fortunate as we are because we're government.
No, yeah, I know that one down there. It's
Yeah,
teensy.
Yeah.
Not yet.
And what did you say the value of it was worth?
it's
Yes,
approximately 100,000.
yes, they did.
Okay.
Vote was 3-0.
I think it should be documented.
Yeah.
I just think there should be documentation for that, attached to, not necessarily ours, but I do have another, this is. Okay, on every one of these, I think on the next resolutions, they should never say up at the top, that they were made, seconded, and adopted by those present, because they might not be, they might have nays, so that shouldn't be at the top. However, the vote is how the vote is. And you guys may approve everyone, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that
The
shouldn't be.
wording,
That wording should not be listed
it
at
is
the top.
assumptive.
Yes.
Well, it makes
It is
sense after the
assumptive,
fact,
yes.
when it's in the
Correct.
file, when it's signed. Because if it doesn't get passed,
Well, the
it's not
vote
in
at
the
the
file.
bottom will indicate whether it was
It'll
passed
work
or
its way
not.
out,
Yeah.
that's correct, but I do agree with Trudy that the paragraph is assumptive.
But the last administration had that in there, and it was, and they.
Well, we don't have to.
Well,
We'll make
that wasn't a good pattern to follow.
On resolution 2023-05, I have made the same changes by removing the S, changing Madison Township Board name to code and explore. I make a motion to accept the changes to the resolution. Second. All in favor? Aye. I make a motion to accept the resolution to allow the fire department to explore the selling of the 2009 Pierce fire engine.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Alright. Yours. Chief Wilson, do you have to leave, or you like Gary?
No, I wanted him to finish, so I don't get another run.
There we go.
I have a feeling I'm gonna be going back to the same place I just left.
Tony, you gotta hurry up.
All right, so we're hurrying up. 2023-06 resolution. We are asking for the permission to sell or explore bids for the 2009 Horton ambulance. That is our current medic backup ambulance. So we want to go ahead and look at getting rid of
Yes,
that
sir.
off our asset ledger as well.
That leaves us with one ambulance for the
No,
township?
the old dive truck that we have,
Mhm.
we have sent that to the shop, and I got a report today that the chassis and the motor is fine. So we're gonna have them put that back together, because it's a much better truck, and that will be our backup ambulance.
Absolutely.
And they're working
So
on
we'll
that
still
right
have
now.
two here?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
And this one is way nicer than the one we wanna get rid of.
I like it, sounds good.
It's bigger, the box is easier to work in for critical patients, and we had all the stuff, they just took it out and tossed it upstairs.
Cool.
So we're just noting the dramatic changes and.
Into a dive truck.
Took a good dive truck and turned it into an ambulance.
That's what I mean. He said they had all the stuff for the ambulance, they just took it all, turned it into a dive truck, but now they're just gonna turn it back into an ambulance. On the plus side, is a dive truck, it never went anywhere.
So it's
That's
been,
Trudy.
That's in
What we're
great shape.
doing, we're asking them to explore, so when we come back to the board and they
I
have the
thought
information.
they wanted to, I thought they really wanted to sell this, right?
Which one?
Because that's what it says.
Well,
they do.
they
It
also
was
sell.
just, it was just a statement that was there that was
and
redundant.
unfortunately, now you guys will have to come back here and have another meeting and have all these resolutions again. It'll
So,
be 2023-07, and then it'll be a resolution.
To
So,
accept the
So
bids.
when we
I make a
come-
motion to change the resolutions to the following things, removing the S, changing Madison Township Board, giving the fire department to explore, moving the board to sell. All in favor? Second. Aye. Somebody want to make a motion to accept the resolution?
I'll make a motion to accept it with the
Changes?
accepted changes to it.
Okay. I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Everybody's nodding.
Now, back to number 2.
All right, so the last one we need to go back to.
We're back to
uh,
2023-02.
Like I said before, I strongly would urge the board to go ahead and sign this resolution. Because when we're trading apparatus, we're getting stuff that we need, they're getting something that they need. And like I said, we're getting equipment that will benefit the residents and the taxpayers of Madison Township.
and you don't need a resolution to explore the sale because we're not selling
We're
anything.
not selling anything.
Straight up.
The value of the $250,000, that was valued at where, Chief Wilson?
That was also Brindley Mountain. They came out in the fall when they were going to try to sell it and valued it for us.
Okay.
So you have documentation then?
We do have, and I'm trying to find it.
Oh,
Chief Russell has it. I'm trying to find it.
I know where he
But I'm sure
lives.
we can get it.
But I'm sure we can get it.
Is it just from one place?
Mm-hmm.
There's
There's
not,
really only one major place that deals in wholesale apparatus, and they're really big.
Well,
So
that's
we-
fine, but I do
we
think
can.
that, you know, when we're selling something of that magnitude and dollar amount, that we need 2 or 3 different company evaluations or
Are there 2 or
valuations.
3 companies out there that do this kind of work?
Most of them are out of state.
So just keep in mind, we're not selling it. We're trading it the equipment.
Well, I know,
for the
but you should
equipment.
have a
So
proper value. What our book value is that we're carrying,
that's-
I think that needs to be made. And then I think, you know, the equipment that they're trying to sell us, we need to know, is that a true good value?
And I think Chief Wilson could also express that, you know, this engine was one of his projects
Yeah,
that he
they,
was the deputy chief of, so he has intimate knowledge of how well this apparatus. So we're just not trading,
So,
you know, the piece of
Well, I
junk
understand
for
that,
it.
but you're talking a huge financial thing for our township.
Sure.
And if that's what you want to do, then you need to back it up with the documentation to show on the books, this is what we valued our stuff at, this is what theirs is. And I think it should be very comparable. But I think, you know, that's like me going and saying, hey Ralph, because I know somebody, give me an estimate on what you think. No, you need more.
right.
I think it's gonna
Your
be a
your
little bit-
insurance company wouldn't accept you doing just one.
They've had their vehicle valued,
Yes.
so I know what the value of it is.
Well,
Yeah.
I
No, and
don't.
also it may be a little bit difficult, like these out-of-state places.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you take your car in, you
Right.
take it into a dealership,
Yeah.
they drive it, they send it in a shop, they get it up on a rack, and might be a little bit hard for them to get a
It
whole
might
lot of
be.
estimates if they're.
You know, they can give you a ballpark figure.
Yeah,
When you tell them
but
a
they're
VIN
doing it
number,
based
a
on
piece of
the
equipment,
average
and what it
value. It's not
has.
the real value of maybe our stuff, you know, because they're not seeing it personally. I mean, I understand, I agree with what you're saying, I'm just saying.
I'm just
say
saying, I
three,
came
maybe
up
we
in
can only
auto
get-
salvage. I know
realistically
that there are
get one.
valuations on equipment. And whether it's a car or fire equipment or scuba diving equipment, there is somebody out there that can provide that information easily.
Yeah,
Question.
we'll see.
questions regarding a couple things. So,
Okay.
the rescue squad that we use now,
Mm-hmm.
is it providing a benefit to the citizens of Madison Township?
No.
Okay.
It shouldn't have been purchased.
Okay.
We are not built to respond to heavy rescue like that. We aren't staffed to respond to that vehicle. It basically goes on runs now, just
For fun.
to say we can take it on runs.
The 2007 refurbished 2018 Spartan fire engine, will that serve the citizens of Madison Township?
It will be the primary fire engine at this fire station because the ladder is moving.
The,
No, does it hold water? It's the Spartan.
Oh yeah.
How much?
750 gallons.
Okay.
It's a fire engine.
the
It's actually.
extraction equipment,
Mhm.
with the 11-year manufacturer warranty, I assume this is extraction equipment from vehicles, right?
Yes, it's a set of Homatro hydraulic, which means it's not gasoline powered, it's battery
So
powered.
these are the portable ones, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think you gave a stat earlier. What was the percentage of vehicle or thing that you?
I was only fire EMS. I haven't
That's
broken
fine.
it down to auto accidents or extrications.
Deputy Chief McClure mentioned earlier the Lucas chest compression system
Mhm.
and the value that has over 30 minutes of chest compression and then
Right.
get tired. I couldn't do it. I'd be worn out. So do you feel that serves?
Absolutely. And that is brand new. They're
Okay.
purchasing it on their account.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
So.
So we know the exact value of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Absolutely.
16,600 is what it's listed.
16,606 change, something like that. And the way we valued the extrication equipment is they got with Homatro and they said, this is what we have. It's 3 years old. What is it worth now? So they kind of put a menu together of what their equipment was worth, and we came up with around $33,000, $34,000 for us to get a complete set.
Right.
So originally it was going to be, we were going to give them the rescue, and I was going to get $50,000 cash. And I said, this is why I want this cash, because I want to purchase these things. And they said, well, wait a minute. I think we can help you.
Do you happen to remember by any chance what the purchase value of the rescue squad was when you
It
bought
was
it?
around 5, I think.
$500,000.
Was
Low over what?
A little over $500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 something.
And how many years ago was that?
2014.
2014, so it was bought brand new.
Mhm.
Specifically built for Madison.
It was specifically, okay.
Yeah.
What is the
Almost
typical
10 years ago.
depreciation about it?
Like
Mm,
a heavy
250,000
rescue.
around the ballpark of what this would depreciate to?
That's
Yeah.
Or
Larry
different value?
and the clerk.
Not really.
What is the value on the book?
Yeah, well, I've looked at a ton of them online,
Gotcha.
and they're all at 220, 250, 260.
I
What's the
think
premise
that's,
of a rescue truck?
Well,
That rescue truck?
in a big fire department, like Indianapolis, you have an engine company, which is the guys on the fire engine. You have a ladder company, which are the ladder guys that cut holes and do search, and then you have a specific rescue company, and they do ropes, trench, advanced vehicle extrication, water rescue, all those specialties,
Large vehicle stabilization.
which is what that vehicle's set up for, but we don't do any of that.
right.
The
All-
semis and things you were talking
All
about.
we do is vehicle extrication. We don't do ropes, we don't do trench, we don't do collapse, we don't dive.
I think that's all great information. I think it's very important. I'd like
They
to
do it all though.
I'd like to ask Trustee Ellis, in your opinion, do you think this serves the best interest of the citizens of Madison Township?
What was the Hackney Spartan system?
If you
I'd
care
like
what
to
the
make-
public thinks, I like it.
Well, I would like to make a motion that
Oh,
we
that's it.
accept this resolution.
It was 514,000.
As it is written. Need a motion on the floor. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it.
Yay. That's going to be really great. That Lucas system is an amazing system. They really are.
I mean, there's
So-
times we go into cardiac arrest with 3 people.
Well, I mean, and with that,
We
with
need
the,
6.
it can cut down so much on, two. We can have a team here and a team there, and they don't all have to go to the same cardiac arrest. So one team can go there, and if we get a second call, we're available still. So
Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to get our position for our fire department.
It's the same way with our extrication equipment. We want to switch to the hydraulics because right now, we have to carry a pump and hoses and tools
Right.
away from the vehicle. Now we just carry
Plug
tools
it
and
in.
battery. And
All that
most battery
maintenance
power.
cost and everything that goes along with it.
While we're
We just-
finishing up, Deputy Chief's report.
Okay, mine's not gonna be as lengthy as that, so I just have a couple of things to report on. I've been tasked with several things, but the ones that are important right now, and it's just because they're time consuming right now. I can't really, I focused on the other ones, but really can't spend 100% of the time. So, first thing is that we've upgraded some of our computers, our training facility, which in the future, we will be able to put PowerPoints on the TVs to actually give you guys an additional visual other than looking at the piece of paper, so we've updated that. Trustee Ellis's computer was moving at matter of fact, I think the turtle passed us twice, trying to get him just to log into his email system. So we've upgraded his computer with one that is a little more versatile. It's a laptop with a docking station.
So it's no longer the Commodore 64C.
Exactly right.
I had that computer. Don't laugh.
When we turned it on, what was it, Lotus? Yeah. So,
You had to type the command in to get it
yeah,
to
we
come
had to
up.
command in to get it
C.
to open up, so.
Semicolon.
But now he has a laptop, so if he needs to take his laptop home to work, then he can do that as well. So the other one is Station 31's computer. The guys down there, the officers, the only one that had a computer, so the guys never had a computer to get on to check their emails or anything like that. So we've upgraded that system as well. As I mentioned earlier, we're working with IT to kind of just evaluate our system, see where we can save money, see what we need to change to make things better. One of the things that we identified is that the Wi-Fi, its signal's not very good out here, so we're going to look to improve that to help, the community, maybe when we're doing streaming and stuff like that. So, just think that that's an important thing to get more people interested in outreach. The other thing is our scheduling software. The scheduling software we currently have doesn't really fit our needs, so we're going to a program called the LabTech Fire Manager, which will allow us to be able to track hours of work for the part-time employees. It has a payroll module in it, so hopefully when we get all the data in there and get it together, Ms. Tina, when she does payroll, we'll be able to have a little bit better accurate report, so we don't have,
questions.
any issues. One of the things that this program also does for us is we have write-out pay, which on salary resolution, if you're a write-out officer, you get an additional 25 cents an hour. So that will automatically calculate in it. So Miss Tina or Jeff don't have to go, okay, with this pay period, Krista had this many hours. So that will be able to help that. And it's also the out of rank pay is what I call it. The other thing is, it's pretty cool, is goes along with our maintenance and how we're taking responsibility of how we should address our maintenance issues, is they have truck checks in. So the crews, when they do the truck checks, will be able to go into Fire Manager, upload their information on a daily basis, so we can keep a little bit better track of mileage and, if a piece of equipment goes out, because, like I said, when I had to enter in maintenance bills into our system, sometimes I didn't know what the apparatus was and stuff like that, and I'd have to really work hard and go research to get that information. So that's pretty much it for my report. We did a lot of things since the first year. So one thing.
Do you want to talk about the hiring?
Okay.
Sure, wait, why not?
Oh, well, no, I saw that you guys made that announcement on Facebook, so I didn't know if you
Yes.
wanted to mention it here.
Yeah, we have to date about 55 applications. We've never really had that many, so it's new to us as we try to organize the hiring process. We're going to be testing on February 4th at Mount Gilead, I believe. I need to get over and confirm that with them because we don't have a facility here big enough to test that many people. So we'll be filling 3 full-time firefighter spots. We're currently down 2. We're getting ready to lose another one, potentially a 4th one. We're waiting on Bartersville's list to come out to see if he's on it, which I suspect he probably is. So then we'll be down 4 full-timers, and one of those is a captain, so we're going to lose a captain. We need as many part-time people as we can get to fill those 9 spots throughout the year. And we've got 5 civilian paramedic applications. So we'll see if we can get those spots filled so we can get a medic on that truck, not me.
How many part-time people do we have for firefighters right now?
Oh, we probably got 15,
maybe if that. We've recently cleared up our roster a little bit. People that just wasn't.
The roster you heard before of 50 or 60, those were bogus numbers.
50 is the number that the board's approved us.
Those weren't even close to being correct.
So as far as the hiring, we currently have 17 people interested in the firefighter EMT spot, 19 people interested in the firefighter PRN, 5 lateral officer applications. I think now we're up to 5 civilian paramedics, and then we have 7 people that want to be a paramedic PRN.
Perfect.
Right, which are just basically our fill-in medics if somebody's off or we're
I do
short.
believe your husband.
I know what PRN
He's
is.
a paramedic, right?
Yeah.
He is.
And he can put in for that PRN spot too.
He really could if we weren't moving him in room.
We don't have no residency requirements here. He's put in.
I don't want about that.
Okay, all right then.
We're still
I know.
browning out this fire station at least 50% of the time, if not more. There's no fire truck up here.
You mentioned you're having problems with Wi-Fi. Do we have fiber here? Fiber lines?
We had talked about that. I don't know. Haven't been
Yes,
able
we
to
do
dig
have
into
fiber
that.
here.
That we do?
We're on SCI fiber.
Okay.
You're going
So,
to promote
why would you
captain
have
from
trouble
internal.
with the Wi-Fi then?
Don't know. And we're going to get with IT, work with IT.
Captain will be internal, yes.
To-
The
to-
lieutenant.
I haven't been able to dive in and
That's the
investigate
lateral
that yet, to
officer
work
that
with
I'm
them.
trying to
I
get.
think Miss Tina's going to help
Thank you.
me.
Half this process will be down the road. We'll just have somebody ride out and the captain until we.
Excuse me.
If you're in there other 40 hours this week.
Do we have an updated asset ledger as of January 1, 2023?
We do have an asset ledger. I do have it. I do believe I shared it with Chief Wilson. And the only reason why I can say it's updated is because yesterday we bought 2 core gas meters to help determine if there's hazardous environments when we're doing homes. I just added those to the asset ledger yesterday.
I might make Nathan work
Okay,
here.
so.
But as far as it to be
So
accurate,
I
what we know it to be,
could request from you the asset ledger as of January 1?
you would actually request it through them, and I'll make sure that we provide it.
It needs a lot of work.
It needs a lot of work.
So it's not finished for
It's not
January
finished.
1?
Okay.
We haven't even had time to dig
We
into
hadn't
that
had time to
yet.
look at it.
Our aspirations.
So you just got hired January 1. You've only been on the office for 17 days.
I'm just trying to get a hold of the fire department.
Our aspirations on the asset ledger is to, once these resolutions are finalized and we've sold what we need to sell, gotten rid of what we need to sell, then get an accurate asset ledger of what we have.
So by second
You
quarter.
really should have an accurate one as of January 1, and then there's a column on there of disbursements or whatever, how they put it
Disposition
on.
of.
So then those items should be listed on that column so that you can follow that through for the year.
Well, we understand it, but we took over from an administration that was lacking a business structure, so we're trying to.
Fortunately, Madison Township just became a
And there should
government
be a
member.
depreciation schedule.
I'm just
Day
saying,
one.
but
on each one.
for history's sake, it'd be easier
Or
to follow
just
it through.
pretend like we just became a government. We just existed.
New country.
Year
Just
one.
today.
I'll
New
tell you,
country,
I'll get started on
yes.
one thing, and then I'll find 3 things that set me back 2 weeks.
Amen.
All three of us are experiencing that.
No, we'll tell you, there's sometimes he's out there in the field and I gotta go get him and bring him
Book
back.
value of assets.
It's a lot.
Rather work in the field than in the
I'm
office.
good till
Sorry.
10 o'clock every night.
Hit it.
But so they're saying it's not today.
No.
We're done.
I'm done.
Okay, now,
He's done it, but he's been sitting
Meeting
there
dates.
being a
Meeting
he's
dates.
been taking on
Where's my
meeting dates. Okay, we picked
All
write these down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here it is.
February 16th, 7 p.m. March 16th, 7 p.m. Then we go every 2 months. Every other month. May 11th.
The reason why Ruby's gonna be there is February 1st.
May 11th at 7 p.m. July 13th. July 7 p.m. July 13th. September 14th, 7 p.m. September 16th, 7 p.m.
What was this, that one?
Last one,
Yes,
November 16th.
okay.
Just a minute, you're gonna have to have 2 budget meetings.
Well, you tell me what.
August.
We're gonna start working on the budget in April.
They were in October, we always won the
Well, you
last
technically
month in.
can't do the paperwork until July.
No, we're gonna start having budget workshops in
Can you do
April.
them in September?
That's our
Yes.
plan, to do the budget in September rather than October.
Okay.
We've always been.
So you wanted to have the meeting in October then, or do you want to?
No, we'll have both meetings in September.
You have 2 in
Two
September
meetings in
then.
September, and where are we at here? So
Or
we
you could
got
have one in
on the
August.
14th.
Or you could have one in August.
Or we could have one in August, yeah.
Or one of the
So
September.
you have one
28th.
on September 14th. Would you rather make the second one September 28th to have a
Yeah.
2-week gap there?
Yeah, you have to have.
You
two
have to
meetings.
have
Okay.
10 days.
Perfect.
So is
All right.
September 28th good then, Trustee Ellis? So September 28th at 7 p.m. will be the additional one in there for September as well.
Are these all
So you're gonna
Thursdays?
do
Thursday,
a,
7 p.m.
That'll
That's
also
where
be
they
a
said
budget
everybody
meeting.
works.
I'm sorry, we're gonna do what?
September 14th.
so the first
There's no
budget
budget.
meeting is gonna be combined with
September
the
28th.
September 14th meeting?
Budget adoption.
All right, now that needs to be a hearing.
Right, that will be a hearing, and then the 28th will be the actual budget adoption.
I want to say this now at the beginning of the year. Can we please try really hard to not give this administration a hard time about getting their meeting notices published in the paper? This is not the fault of government officials. This is the fault of the newspaper. They are refusing to put meeting notices in the paper. They are not legally beholden to do that. The only thing I could suggest is putting a little bit of money aside to taking out a physical ad, because that's the only guarantee you have in getting in Gannett.
Yep, classified ads way to go. And also, they just publicized it.
The other option is if the local paper will not, or a local paper is not available, then you can use the next available. So we can go outside of that area. It's not desirable to, because you want to hit your constituents, obviously. But we do need to have it advertised, but if they are not cooperating, we can go to another.
The Indy Star.
But it's also Gannett, so.
The-
So then from what Jim was saying, the February 16 meeting will be the annual report meeting?
Yes.
And when will the annual report be available for taxpayers to review? Along with various documents.
Before February 16th.
She'll just serve red.
When's it gonna be ready?
We're hoping to have available 10 days before the meeting.
So
We'll just put you on the spot.
Fingers crossed.
Go ahead. That's good in order. That's good in order.
Okay, the last meeting date that I've got written down here is November 16.
Yeah.
There won't be anything in December. Okay.
You want something very Christmas or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, there should.
There's no Christmas shopping in this administration.
There should be a meeting in the last week of December so that you guys can sign your,
Nepotism and all that stuff.
exactly, for the year,
Trying to run on Christmas, right?
between Christmas and New Year's. I don't want to ruin your Christmas.
Where are you planning your vacation that time of year? Oh, plan it that week.
Well, however you want to do it, before Christmas or something, but it should be, you're signing it for the year.
Did you check with my wife?
Is it for the year coming up, like 2024?
Nope, it's for the year that you just,
Oh, okay.
Year
Can we-
end
can we
work.
Announce that at a later date when we all decide what we're doing.
oh yeah, I mean, I'm not,
We'll do it later then.
I'm just stating that
I know. I mean, it's understood, if something comes up that's mandatory, yes, we would be in a meeting.
Get out of here if you gotta go.
Okay, moving on.
that's it.
I think we're ready to adjourn. All in favor?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
These
Second, all in favor?
I want to thank everybody. This has been the calmest meeting I've seen.
Yeah.
6 years.
I'm not trying to
Nobody checked us back.
Nobody tried to attack you.
I've
that's
got to
almost like-
run.